Hello there, Internet. Version 2 here with Let's Watch Danganronpa 3, The End of Hope's Peak High School, Episode 22, Despair Arc number 11, also known as the finale of the Despair Arc, because the final episode isn't, it's Side Hope, I think people said. So this is the actual final episode of the Despair Arc. When we last left off in the Despair Arc, you know, I don't think we need to discuss it again. We all know what happened. We don't need to mentally revisit that over and over and over and over and over again at all. And now we see what the fuck happens from there. Now we see what the fuck happens when all these people are actually brainwashed with despair. Which honestly, they didn't seem exactly brainwashed by despair. They seemed to be prepped for despair with that first mutual killing video. But with the Chiaki one, it was literally just showing them what happened to Chiaki. That seemed enough. It didn't seem to require the brainwashing tactics. Which, you know, fair. It's their classmate. And they were prepped to feel hopeless. And then, you know, everything that we saw, so. I'm really curious where this episode's going to go. Being the final episode for the Despair Arc, what are we going to see? Like, how far into this are we going to see this? What are we going to see these people do now that they're who they are? Are we going to get some more description of Nagito? Given that Nagito's hope boner and everything, and the way that he's a remnant of despair is different to the others? I don't know. Either way, there's a link in the description to this episode on Crunchyroll. And we will go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. We both click play on go, and then we watch this. So let's just do that right now, because I have to cut down these yammering times at the beginning. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. God, I think I changed up the timing of that countdown mid-countdown that time. I apologize if it is hard to keep track of how I'm doing all this. Wait, what the fuck? That building's finished by the end of Danganronpa 1, as we saw in the last episode. Yeah, does the board of directors know that everything's gone to shit, so building other schools may not be a great idea? Hey, you two! Here, let's watch you lie. Because, oh, he can't find out that I have a crush on him. He might think I'm bad because I'm gay. I don't know if that's what they're going for, but I mean, it's... Congratulations on setting the world towards despair, you dumbass. Don't use that against him when you're lying, asshole. Just man up and say you have a crush on him. And then, you know, man up. I'm sorry, There's only so many different ways I can make boner jokes. The true power of latent gay rage. Then who the fuck is it? Yeah, good question. And Chisa! Who's literally despair at this point. So you already start doubting Sakakura. Why are you flipping through a book to work that out? So here's my question. If Chisa is despair forever from this point onwards, it seems, her feelings for Munakata stay there, right? But she never turned around and, like, killed Munakata to feel more despair. Oh, you're still holding it, Izuru. You actually blowing shit up? Goodbye, Hope's Peak High School. The fuck is happening? They don't look like it. Not until literally until the end of Danganronpa 2. Did Mukuro not understand that this was a worldwide plan until this point? Ah, there's the reserve course! Ah, yes! What an exquisite, beautiful meme! We are doing way more revengeance than I thought we would. What the fuck? They're attacking the stuff with chainsaws. Yeah, firebomb the school! Man, you really have got the reserve course on fucking lock, don't you? So do the reserve course kill, like, yeah, they kill a lot of the people who are, like the other students and teachers as well. I thought it was just killing themselves. I'm still confused what's happening here. This is not what I was expecting this to be. Okay, no, they were all like this the whole time in here, yeah. Okay. So you're just having a spare gang. Again. So they're all just kind of lying at this point. Oh, if that's what the imposter does, holy fucking shit. Imposter just goes around pretending to be world leaders? Holy fuck. You're the only one who's actually speaking to what you truly believe. He's the only one who's being truthful about what he actually is thinking. Wait, what? So they all know they're despairs and they're just being ironic about it. Jesus Christ, reserve course. You feel like you're doing a lot more than the actual remnants are doing. But the remnants are going from beyond this. So they're just faking their death by blowing them up. You can work out that Danganronpa 2 is going to happen from here. I mean, you do have ultimate analytical powers. You are not convinced that despair you can't predict despair. You're not actually on either side. You're literally just curious to see which one you can't predict. Which shows that his analytical powers are stronger than Junko's, because he doesn't know. His analytical powers are literally better than yours, so he is right about this. Yeah, your brainwashing can't work on him. It's literally impossible for it to. Hey, Monokuma. So Zuru doing everything from this point onwards is literally just to make Hope and Despair fight against each other, and he's predicting the outcome and he wants to see if he's wrong. Which is why he's willing to go along with this. That being said, going along with this, he's not doing that much. Only the 78th class have not been wiped out. All the other kids have been killed by the reserve course. Jesus. You know, for 3,000 students dying, you two are pretty calm. 3. We need a detective to work it out. There it is! I'm the president, I'm not gonna abandon it, yeah. Here it begins! Here it fucking begins. I will help build Future Foundation. I will also help build Future Foundation. Oh, Kizakura. Yeah, get drunk. Get drunk at the end of the fucking worlds. So what made Class 78 survive? Or is it just Junko told them not to kill them because she wanted the killing game to happen? Oh, so she sent a text message that makes everyone kill themselves? That's the sound of the video that we saw before. Yep, it's the same fucking one. So this is what her test for it. So I did not realize from Danganronpa 2 that before the reserve corps killed themselves, they killed everyone else. Feels like an important fucking detail. I mean, yeah, the concept of a high school of like 3,000 students would all kill themselves all at once. Yeah, no, that would probably have ramifications on the world. They're not useful enough to keep spreading despair. This is the most useful way for them to spread despair. You didn't even have to when you did. And this is where this starts. All of them, yeah, they are. All willingly locking themselves in to escape from the fucking horror. Aww. You can't predict Makoto. Luck. I mean, his luck isn't as strong as Nagito's, but that's not his true ability. Yeah, if Sayaka didn't die, those two would totally be the couple instead of him and Kyoko, hey? That's why his luck is different, because he doesn't always have it. Her resolve to being defeated is admirable. Like, she has that part of Azuru as well. It's just only manifesting now when she sees Makoto. If Hope can defeat her, then that is unpredictable and more despairful. I do appreciate that they've finally actually said that, yes, their luck does function differently. It's the first time they've ever actually explicitly mentioned it. Would the lack of bodies not give it away a little? I guess there's so many bodies, they're trying to count all of them and ID all of them. They're not doing. It's the photos. Aww. Because everything went according to plan. Yeah. No, despair isn't that unpredictable, is it? Sonya just running her country to do it. Yeah, you'd be extremely mad now, wouldn't you? So you went through with all this, you didn't kill him because you wanted him to feel the most despair by just going through all of this. That's the Monokuma hiding behind the desk. She's willing to be defeated for that cause. I'll definitely say that episode was done really well in terms of showing. It's something that we've known from the first game, that something happened at Hope's Peak to cause the world to fall into the tragedy. And we've been told little bits of more and more and more information about it the entire time. We're told how the reserve corps killed themselves and it spread from there. We were shown the parade itself and things like that in Zero. We saw a bit of the tragedy in action in Ultra Despair Girls. And after all of this time, we've finally seen how it went from one to the other. And I'll admit, for a concept as ludicrously over the top as what the tragedy is, the fact that from one school, the entire world just kind of agrees to apocalypse itself. For as absurd, over the top as that idea is, they did it pretty well here. In terms of being believable in universe. Like, actually showing all the students do all that shit. Oh, we're still gone. Neo World Program. Of course. Like, showing all of the students actually go through all of that. And showing all the Reserve Corps students killing themselves and how much that school got fucked. And how it spread from there. For in-universe, it's so believable. And it's good to finally see that. Is this her exact dialogue when you first meet her in here? I'm pretty sure you did meet her in here. Hajime Hinata. Continued to the hope side. Okay. So that final shot there at the end of Hajime and Chiaki meeting and shaking hands, that's meant to be mimicking the scene at the near the end of Danganronpa 3, right? Like during chapter 6, where shit's all fucked and Chiaki's already dead, but she comes to him and like they're like floating in the aether. That's meant to be that, right? Like it's meant to be mimicking that. Yeah, and if as absurd as the concept of the tragedy is, and I understand, like, it's really a difficult thing to just show on a on a micro level of what the like being in the tragedy is like, because it's just people willingly killing each other and just chaos. Like the closest that we got to that is Ultra Despair Girls. But even then, like, Toa City was deliberately a place that had escapes from that until that game had started. And we get glimpses of it in future arc and everything. Like, you don't see that much of actually being in the tragedy, which I get, because it's a hard thing to just be like, this is what it's like, because, like, it's ambiguous and never changing by its nature. Like, it's just what will cause more people to kill each other and cause more chaotic shit to happen constantly. Like, it's hard to exactly show that. But in terms of, after all this time, after all of this build up, finally showing us the exact, like, showing us how the tragedy started, they did it pretty damn well. I'll give them, like, they did that really well. Like, it wasn't just, because you get to the, in Danganronpa 2, of just, the reserve course killed themselves. And then from that, it all happened with the help of the Despair Remnants. And it's like, I can get that. Like, 2,700 school students all killing themselves at once totally does have the potential to set the world off. But actually showing it here where it's just like, they didn't just kill themselves. They went around and killed everyone else in the school, burned the school to the ground, and then all killed themselves. Like, the rest of the world watching that with the remnants of despair, egging them on in different ways. No, that totally makes sense. I mean, all of the power, like, all of the talents that the remnants have, some of them wouldn't be super useful for continuing spreading that. Some of them, though, would be, like, godlike at continuing spreading that. Sonya, she can literally just have one country just cause more wars everywhere. Fuyuhiko, he has a gang. They go around killing everyone. The Imposter, I love what they did with the Imposter, because we kind of had absolutely no idea, like, of anything about the Imposter. What's the Imposter gonna do? Go around pretending to be world leaders to just do what Sonya's doing, but with, like, every country that he can get his fucking hands on. Even Nekamaru, ultimate team leader, if he, like, any group of people that he can find, he can lure them more into despair. And then you'll get someone like Hyoko. I'll dance the world into despair. It's like, okay. Even Ibuki. I'll music the world. It's like, okay. Even Mahiru. I can take photos. It's just like, yeah, no, showing other people what it's like. Like, showing people what it's like and broadcasting it to the world is what started this in the first place. Even Mahiru's abilities are good at that. Like, with Popinski, even Popinski, it's just like, okay, he's like a mechanic engineer. I can't remember I think it's mechanic. But it's just like, oh, I'm going to just destroy the environment. It's just like, no, that actually super makes sense for him. Having the remnants of despair egging on the tragedy and then being able to do the different things that they're able to do to egg on the tragedy even more makes the concept a lot more believable. Like the reserve corps students all killing themselves and basically like the school that's meant to be the pillar of just like what the world should aspire to being brought down and like internally just everyone killing each other. Like, it wasn't like they were attacked by an outside terrorist group, unless you count Junko as that. But it wasn't just like, oh, someone blew up the school and they killed them. It's just like, no, everyone in the school all turned around and killed each other. Like, when you see, and then themselves. Like, with that and the rest of the world just being prepped of just like, that's fucked up. And then you've got the remnants pushing it in all different ways, and it's just like, that totally makes sense. Like, it is way more viable. Could something like that happen in real life with school students? I mean, probably not. I'd like to think not, but you look at the world right now and fucking who knows. But this is anime, this is video games, this is Danganronpa. Everything is kind of heightened. Like, the scale, the tone, the emotion is always turned up to max in this series. I mean, that's the whole point of all the ultimates and everything, and what the personalities of all the ultimate people are. Is just everything is turned up to the max. So in universe, no, it totally is viable. Like, because even before it was just like, how the fuck did this happen? And then they actually showed us how it happened. It's just like, no, in universe, I totally buy it. That totally makes sense, and you showed it well. It's fucked up, but you showed it well. I mean, in Junko, the way Junko talks about it, and it's something that happens more and more as it goes on, the more despair there is, the easier it is for more despair to spread, because it becomes more and more overwhelming. It's a very momentous force. So after all of this time, we've finally seen the tragedy actually happen, as much as you can show the tragedy actually happening, because it's kind of just a worldwide state of chaos. It's hard to just show that in a single thing. But it's just, no, places, like... Yeah, the tragedy really kicks off when ordinary citizens, who had nothing to do with any of this, are then just, because of the state of the world they're in, are more willing to kill one another, and then that just ramps up more and more and more and more and more. And when every country declares war on every single other country, and then, yeah, then the world's fucked. One thing I'd be curious about is, by the time of Future Arc, what's the population of the world? Like, how many people are actually left? Because, I mean, they say in Danganronpa 1 that what's happening in Danganronpa 1 is being broadcast to the world. You wouldn't think that broadcasting it to the world would help that much unless there was still a fair number of people. Like, if the worldwide population by that point is, like, say 10,000. If it's only 10,000 left by that point, they're probably people who aren't going to Despairify, or, like, aren't going that way. Because Danganronpa 1 does take place, like, what, a year and a half? 2 years? 2 years, I think, after this. So... they, like... Again, because it's not just it's not like a nuclear apocalypse where it's just like in the space of a couple weeks, everyone's dead except for these handful of survivors. It's not like a zombie apocalypse. It's just, again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's just, the tragedy is one of the most interesting apocalypse concepts that I've ever seen, because the whole premise of the tragedy isn't one cataclysmic event happens that fucked humanity. I mean, it started with one cataclysmic event of what happened at the school and the school falling. But it isn't just one cataclysmic event happened and then fucked the entire world. It's... the world stayed basically the same, just all forms of social order completely and utterly collapsed and stopped existing. And it's a very interesting concept for an apocalypse. And it is something that I kind of wish was explored more, seeing what that apocalypse is like on the ground floor, but I understand why it is very hard to show, because it would be hard to show it in a way that's satisfying, and I think Ultra Despair Girls with the adults is probably one of the better ways that they could have done that. I mean, you've literally got, in that, thousands of adults cheering for, kill, 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 kill! Like, that's a pretty good way of showing it, of just being like, yeah, this is what this world drives them to. Like, it's not just, oh, you've got to, like, they start with destroy, destroy, you gotta stop the kids, and then that is are made where, no, doing this will, like, blow up the heads of this many children. And they're just like, nah, fuck it, let's do that. Kill, kill, kill. Showing that level of social collapse where all of these adults are totally willing and actively chanting for the worldwide, the massive wide slaughter of a fuckload of children. It's just like, yeah, no, that's a pretty good way of showing, like, how much social order has completely and utterly collapsed. So... Like, that moment shows it pretty well, and it would be hard for him to show it in other ways. Like, Ultra Despair Girls, as much as the game has problems, and it's nowhere near as good as the others, it does show a side of this world that is hard to explore in any other method. So I can at least appreciate Ultra Despair Girls for that. Not for the episode that it had in this, because it literally wasted an episode, but hey. So on the next episode, we're going back to the future arc, and we're staying there. Well, I mean, then there's Hope arc, which is the final episode. But I imagine that will just take place. Like, I imagine that's going to be just a continuation of Future. Like, I can't imagine Future is going to end here, and then Hope is just something completely and utterly separate. I don't see that happening. So, on the next episode, we're going back to Future arc. The game has stopped. So what the fuck happens now is the main question. So, until then, this is version 2, signing out.